Have you ever left a doctor's appointment feeling more confused, dismissed, or discouraged than when you walked in? Maybe you've spent years searching for answers about your son. Perhaps you sat across from professionals who seem to know less about your son's behavior than you do. Or maybe you're still trying to find a doctor who actually understands the kind of support you need when meltdowns, sensory struggles, aggression, or school refusal are part of your everyday reality. In today's episode, I'm sharing one of the hardest moments of our journey with our son, the words a doctor spoke that changed everything, and the lessons I learned while searching for medical professionals who truly could support our family. If finding the right doctor feels overwhelming, frustrating, or impossible right now, this episode is for you. If you're tired of feeling helpless during your son's meltdowns and isolated by the stress it brings to your family, and you want simple steps to open communication, reduce outbursts, and bring more peace to your home, you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Cynthia, wife and boy mom. I remember having a child who looked typical, but spent hours falling apart at home. I learned how to stay confident during the stress of meltdowns and build connection without resorting to heavy-handed parenting. If you're ready to reduce the meltdowns and aggressive behavior and finally see that what you're doing is actually helping, then grab my hand. I am the mom you've been waiting to meet. Would you like a plan for summer and beyond? The outings, bedtimes, driving, friends, playdates, holidays, and vacations. You're on high alert for it all. Our unique circumstances stump doctors, psychologists, educators, and specialists. And you are here today because you want to help your son. You want to know that what you are doing is working. I have a few spaces opening up for meltdown support, one-on-one sessions with me for moms who are overwhelmed by aggressive meltdowns, shutdowns, sensory struggles, and the constant emotional weight of it all. Together, we can reduce those long aggressive meltdowns, have smoother bedtimes and outings, and build strong connection with you and your son. Email me today to save your spot at info@cynthiafair.com. It was only 4 weeks after my son was born that he started screaming. Even as a newborn, he hardly slept for more than 10 minutes at a time, and unless I kept him tucked in bed with me, I always said I'd never co-sleep, the nights were just as demanding. With brilliant blue eyes and near white blonde hair, he was adorable, and his looks gave nothing away, so his differences were difficult to distinguish to anyone outside our home. He didn't talk much before attending school, so we kind of wondered where he was at until he was not quite 4 years old and counted backwards from 100, loud and clear, without skipping a number in the bathtub one day. A short while later, out came the alphabet, and we all stood there stunned, as he hadn't been interested in numbers or letters during playtime. Or so we thought. With his 0 to 60 temper and fascination with spinning objects and building Lego for hours at a time, we knew full well that most everything about him was already different from his peers. We were looking for a baseline of where does he fit? Sound familiar? What we also found is that he held a lot in when we were with others, and he'd fall apart and rage at home. We were beside ourselves to know what to do. When he became very ill for 3 weeks, off and on, and for fear of dehydration, we were admitted to the hospital in a city 1 hour and 20 minutes away. We knew the fight that lay ahead, as he detested being touched, but I was able to stay at least, and they let me sleep in his room. He must have sensed my trust in the nurse. I knew her from years before, as she became the only nurse he would lay down for and let examine him. I watched in awe as he carefully laid on his back and pulled up his pajama shirt so that she could check his abdomen and listen to his heart. She helped us find the strength to get through our first 2 days in the hospital. These moments are crucial to remember and revisit as they provide an anchor of gratitude amidst the chaos. When you look back, you can see the moments when you were given exactly what you needed at the time you needed it, because the rest of it all is a tangled mess usually. The arrival of the doctor turned my son into a raging, caged animal. A different nurse altogether accompanied the physician, and along with my husband and I, we 4 could not hold him down to be examined. The doctor became frustrated because he got kicked, The nurse pulled away, our son retreated and climbed into my husband's arms, and I stood paralyzed. The words I heard next were piercing and hurt, even to write them down. Your son is severely autistic and needs to be on antipsychotics. I want to see you in my office in 2 weeks. My knees gave out and I collapsed on the bed behind me. A flood of tears overwhelmed me and I could barely speak or respond. This was only the beginning of many years finding a doctor that fit us and really nailing down what exactly we were dealing with. Our diagnosis seemed long and complicated at first, especially because what we were experiencing and the behaviors that our son was presenting didn't seem to fall into the typical list of even autism. We stumbled together, my husband and I, through trial and error as to what the heck do we do with this kid? Not only did he stump us, he stumped professionals as well. They kept asking me, so what works for him? And I'm thinking, well, that's why I came to see you. For nearly a decade, it felt like forward 1 step, then 2 back, then forward 3, and back 6. We fought for answers, solutions, and tried quick fixes. You already know that these don't work, but we try them anyway because we're so desperate for something, anything to relieve the pain in us and our child. Some days I gave up. Some days I cried off and on, all day, with the windows covered and the doors locked, only able to tend to basic needs of my family. Even that was draining. It was like breakthrough was on the other side of this Grand Canyon, and I had no ounce of gumption left in me. Far off in a distance with no way to access it was what I needed to get through this. The crazy part is that I didn't really know what it was. What was going to work? And I guess I couldn't see that part. I just knew it was out there, so I set out to find whatever it was I was looking for. The struggle to find a good fit with a doctor is no easy task. It can be very daunting, frustrating, and worrisome. Finding a doctor or pediatrician is essential to have in your care kit, as I call it. You may not need them monthly or often at all, but it's going to come up at some point, and it's important to have this in place for when that time comes. Illness, diagnosis, support, etc. I don't have to tell you how grueling this process can be. Either you're just getting started, been through it, you have finally found a really good doctor after at least a dozen appointments with other doctors that were all a hard no, or, like me, your best doctor in the whole wide world that took years to find, and after a couple of decades with her, she retired, and you had to start the process all over again. Over the years, we met a lot of doctors. Some were wonderful, some were not. Some had incredible knowledge, but no ability to connect with our son. Others took the time to understand him as a whole person before making assumptions. After decades of appointments, assessments, diagnoses, second opinions, and starting over more times than I care to count, I've learned a few things about finding a doctor who is the right fit for a child who struggles with sensory issues, meltdowns, aggression, separation anxiety, or behavior that seems defiant. So if you're in that season right now, here are a few things I'd encourage you to look for. No demands are put on your son right away. The first appointment should not feel like a test your son has to pass. A good doctor understands that trust comes before cooperation. If your son needs to sit in the corner, pace the room, hide behind you, or simply observe what's happening, that's valuable information too. Ask for a meet and greet before an examination. If a meet and greet isn't offered, ask for one. Sometimes the best appointment is simply walking into the office, meeting the doctor, and leaving 5 minutes later. Building trust is never wasted time. Take it slow. A little progress at each visit is enough. You don't have to accomplish everything on one visit. Height, weight, questions, examinations, blood work, it can be too much all at once. Small wins count, and one successful step forward is still progress. Look for a doctor willing to do no-touch visits until trust is built. I had to step in on an appointment when my son had specifically asked to not be physically examined. The doctor was going to, and I literally stepped in front of him and insisted that no, We were not doing that today. Body autonomy is important at every age. My son was not ready or comfortable yet, and no means no, even with a doctor. Find someone who is genuinely curious about your son. One of my favorite qualities in a doctor is curiosity, not someone who immediately assumes they know your child, but someone who asks questions, someone who wants to understand the whole picture before jumping to conclusions. Notice whether the doctor feels at ease with you and your son. If the doctor seems rushed, frustrated, uncomfortable, or indifferent, keep looking for another option. A doctor who remains calm, flexible, and confident can help create a sense of safety for both of you. They take their time to listen and observe, not rushing through the appointment. A good doctor isn't just checking boxes or looking at a clock. They're paying attention to how your son interacts, communicates, moves through the room, and responds to the environment around him. They trust your observations as his mom. A doctor may have medical training, but you have something they don't. You live with your son every single day. You're with your son day in and day out. You see the patterns, the triggers, the wins, the struggles that no one else sees. A great doctor values your input and understands that your lived experience with your son is an important piece of the puzzle. Pay attention to the front-end staff. They matter than most people realize. Don't underestimate their importance. They are the first touch point when you phone to book an appointment, and often the first people you see upon arrival at the clinic. They record height and weight and the preliminary basics, so their willingness to be flexible can completely change the experience for both of you. Bonus if they wear fun, colorfully printed scrub uniforms and give treats. Mama, if there's one thing I want you to take away from today's episode, it's this. You do not have to settle. Not every doctor will be the right fit for your son, even if they are good for someone else's child. Not every professional will understand your family, and not every opinion deserves equal weight in your decision-making. Don't be afraid to ask those questions. Trust those good instincts of yours, and keep looking until you find the right one. Because after all these years, one thing has proven true over and over again. You know your son better than anyone else. There will be people who help you along the way. There'll be nurses, teachers, therapists, doctors, and unexpected strangers who arrive at the exact right moment and give you the support you need. Hold on to those people. Let them become anchors in the chaos. You truly are an amazing mom. Hey Mama, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who may be on an uphill battle with her son's unique challenges? Also, please leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. It lights me up to know this podcast is helping you. All right, time to breathe and know that you have everything inside of you to courageously raise your brilliant son. I'll meet you back next week for another episode. Bye.